Hello friends, welcome to Kavita's Classroom and welcome to the series of discussion of sample papers. So let's continue discussing, and today we will be talking about the Indian economic development, and here we go. So again, as we had in the section A, means the macro, we have again 17 questions, 10 questions are objectives, 1 marker, 2 questions, 3 markers, 3 questions, 4 marker, and 2 questions, 6 marker again. You would have picture-based questions as well, and it's going to be a mixed and match with case studies also available for you. So here we begin. The first question for Indian economic development section B is dash sector was the primary focus of Great Leap Forward in China. So Great Leap Forward boosted the industrial sector. No denial. Everybody knows about this. Simple, straight question. Now, the next question is a picture-based question. And this picture, if we analyze, it's showcasing more of pollution, smoke emitting from the industries and all. Let's see, what does it ask? Identify and select the recent phenomenon in which demand for resources surpassed their supply. So it is economic growth, environmental crisis, technological advancement, and cultural evolution. So clearly this picture talks about the negative aspect, and this is the only negative aspect, and clearly it's talking about the environmental crisis. Rest are the positive words. Very simple answer. Now, you must note that as and when there is a picture-based question given, you would have a question followed by this for the visually impaired people. You are not to attempt this. Even if you are attempting and this is right, then also you would not be given any marks because it's not meant for you. We are discussing it for the sake of discussion only. Identify which of the following is not one of the strategies for sustainable development. So they have also highlighted that we are talking about which is not the strategy, right? So use of non-conventional sources like solar, hydro, right? So these are for the sustainable development. It's not required here, right? Fossil fuels for transportation, yes, this is not for the sustainable development because that pollutes the environment. Use of traditional knowledge and use of organic compost manure, again, would be helping the environment from any degradation. So B is the right answer here in this case. Moving ahead. Statement 1 and 2 format, hired workers may be regular salaried workers or casual workers, correct? So we have this as the true statement. Regular salaried employment is a major source of employment in rural areas. No, that's false because in rural areas, we hardly have any regular salaried employment because that requires skill, that requires education, formal setup. But that area is primarily having the activities, the economic activities, somewhat related to agriculture. So this is false. So what is going to be my answer? Answer is A. Statement 1 is true and B is false. Statement 2 is false. Question number 21 says, choose the correct pair. It's not a question of matching all. It's just choosing one, which is the best. Subsidies, maximum quantity. No, maximum quantity is land ceiling. Right, so this is incorrect. Land ceiling, element of IPR? No. These were the reforms. Small scale industries, land to the tiller? No. Modernization as a goal of 5-year plan, change in social outlook. That's the correct answer. Why is it so? Because when we talked about modernization as the 5-year planning goal, modernization wanted it in context of the technical aspect as well as the social outlook. The technology had to be modernized along with the mindset of the people also was required to be modernized. That was the goal, right? Then we have it is short-term unemployment occurring as people transit between jobs. It is the definition given for one unemployment format, and that is frictional unemployment. What is frictional unemployment? When people leave one job to get the other one. Maybe they are not happy there, they're not satisfied there, they want to have some different work profile, they want to have, there is some friction with some friend. So that is a time momentary phase because the people are skilled, the people are qualified, so they get to have the job soon. So that small moment of unemployment is called frictional unemployment. And that's never a worry for the economists. Moving ahead, assertion and reason-based question. Prior to economic reforms, public investment in social infrastructure by China resulted in better human indicators. Bilkul, this is correct. That's true. China is ahead of India and Pakistan on many human development indicators. That's also true. But is it the reason? No, this is not the reason. So both are correct, but B is not giving it as a reason. This is not the reason, right? Then we have, see this picture. Study the image carefully, identify the trade practice that has successfully replaced foreign goods with domestic production. Had the picture not been given, the answer is clearly visible in this statement. The practice that has successfully replaced the foreign goods with domestic production, that is import substitution, right? So, and from the picture also, it's very clear that now imports are in shackles. They are prohibited. So imports have to be substituted by the domestic production. Again, the same thing. After the picture-based question, we have one question for visually impaired. We are just discussing. We are not to go for it. Dash refers to a trade policy aimed at reducing reliance on imported goods by encouraging domestic production. So that is again import substitution. Right. Moving ahead, we have again choose the correct pair. So human development indicator, rule of law. No, that talks about the liberty indicators. That's incorrect. Demographic indicator, constitutional production. No, so that's not demography. Special economic zone, the generation of additional economic activities. That looks correct. Let us see which is the other one. Commune system, collective industrialization. No, it's for collective agricultural work, right? So this is again incorrect. So my answer becomes the third one, C and 3. Move ahead. We have assertion and reasoning. Human capital formation increases the rate of participation of population to economic activities and leads to economic growth. Very clear and very true. Rate of participation of people refers to the percentage of people engaged in production process of a country. That's true, but this is not the reason. So again, this is B. Now, India is not a member, right, of which of the following group? So BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South America, Africa. So India is a part of it. India is there. SAARC, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. So India is a South Asian country, right? It is a part of South Asian country. It's there, right? In G20 also it's there, right? But in G7 it's not there. So my answer is G7 here. Now we have cooperatives have received a setback during the recent past. Justify the statement with the valid explanation. You know, you can have a benefit of your business studies chapter where we talk about cooperatives. Give any 2-3 drawbacks or the problems related to cooperatives, like lack of funds, lack of management, lack of coverage, lack of connectivity of all the works. Like if a cooperative is there for, just the farming, then what about marketing? Then what about finance? So the linkages again are missing. Fine. So you can talk about any of the drawback which is suffered by the cooperatives here. Or explain the reasons behind less number of regular salaried employees in rural areas as compared to urban areas. So we discussed it a moment back as well, that in rural areas, we do not have regular salaried profile or less number of regular salaried employees. Why so? Because for this profile, people need to be educated and skilled, which is lesser in in rural areas as compared to the urban areas, right? And at the same time, when we talk about the rural areas, people are mostly associated with their farm activities. Either they're working on their own small or big pieces of land, or they're working for somebody else. They are mostly in unskilled physical format of jobs. Right. So these are the reasons that we have less of regular salaried profile in rural areas as compared to urban areas. Now, trace the relationship between human capital and economic growth. There is a clear relationship between human capital and economic growth. What is human capital? It's the stock of skill and expertise of a human, right? Which is there at a point of time with any nation, for example, doctors, engineers, architects, all those who are contributing well for the growth and development of the country. So they are human capital for the nation. And those people are innovative, they have more productivity, efficiency, their caliber enhances because their horizons are increased now. They think differently, they are innovative, right? They have out of the box thinking, so that leads to a better research and development also. It means their productivity increases, and hence they are able to do the same type of work with less number of resources and less effort and less time. And that's why it results in economic growth. And when we talk about economic growth, what is the parameter of economic growth? We say, you know, those nations are, developed where we have more of GDP. And what is GDP? GDP is the, value of goods and services produced in an economy. So with this human capital, more goods and services are produced effectively in a lesser period of time with less inputs. That's why we say there is a clear relationship between human capital and economic growth. Now, the next question is 30 part A. Biopesticides help to reduce the ill impacts of green revolution on soil and water bodies while promoting sustainable development. Justify the statement. So we must understand that yes, there had been a great destruction done by green revolution for our soil and water bodies. No doubts they gave us tremendous increase in the output. But that was accompanied by the soil degradation, water degradation. We had the pollution there, salinity of the soil and water increased. So if we are using the biopesticides today, which are chemical free, that would help in promoting the sustainable development. So you can justify giving these things. Define absorptive capacity. It's the capacity of the environment to absorb the degradation done on the environment by the human activity. For the sake of growth and development, human beings are deteriorating the environment to any extent. So it's just a measure whether that deterioration is happening within the absorptive capacity or not. Can the nature absorb that degradation, or it's leading to some sort of crisis? Now, 31st part A. Describe briefly a rationale behind choosing self-reliance as a planning objective for the Indian economy. Now, self-reliance is the bliss for a human being or for the country as a whole. Because self-reliance means we are dependent on our own self. We are not dependent on any other for our need fulfillment. And if we are dependent on the other person would be poking their nose in our internal affairs, right? So if we do not want any intervention by the foreign nations within our nation, right, and our internal policies, we must be self-reliant. And that is the rationale why Indian economy chose to have it as one of the planning objective. Then we have explained how GST has simplified the multiplicity of taxes on goods and services. We must note that GST has subsumed a number of indirect taxes, and it's a blessing. Why? Because it has reduced the cost for the consumer as well. It's increased the revenue. It has simply created the uniform structure of taxes, and hence the cost of the goods remains the same all across, right? So, and there are some bad practices which are curbed now because the prices are same all throughout. So GST and filing procedure, giving the tax, all has gone simplified now. Hence, GST is a blessing. Now, next question is, describe the path of developmental initiatives taken by Pakistan for its economic development. There are a number of things which are done by Pakistan which are similar to us. So we can mention all those things with bit of detailing, that they also had the public and private sector working together. One, they also had gone for reforms. They also had gone for green revolution. There was again the import substitution policy adopted by Pakistan, right? So they nationalized their capital industry. So all these points can be given some detailing and you will have the full marks then. Question number 33, giving valid reasons, state whether the following statements are true or false. India followed unbalanced growth during the colonial rule. Yes, it is true, because while Britishers were here, they never had a balanced growth for India. They did whatever was benefiting them. They tried to work on infrastructure. They worked on roadways, railways, ports, because they wanted to have the transportation done, import and exports done from our country with our country, right? They did not pay any attention to capital industry. Industry was just in the infancy stage during their regime, right? There was bit of growth in agriculture sector that was just 0.5, or per capita development was 0.5 and annual growth rate was just 2% in agriculture sector also. But again, that sector also suffered, manual work and non-mechanization, all those things. Fine. So it was altogether unbalanced growth during the colonial period. Next question is, the economic policies implemented in India between 50 to 90 sought to improve the regional equality. Yes, we have read about IPR where reservation of SSI was there, right? So why did it happen? Because India promoted regional equality by reserving SSIs so that some regions which were backward can be promoted with that reservation. They were given tax benefits, they were given some other benefits also, promotions were given to them. They were given some leverages or exemptions, right? So this way we say that yes, that promotion happened and India wanted to have that regional equality. Then we had India has become a favorable destination of outsourcing in post 1991 period. How and why? After 1991, India became the favorable destination for outsourcing because India had abundant labor and that too skilled. So others could get the skilled manpower at very low rates, right? So that made India a favorable destination. Again, on the top of it, there was ease of doing business with India because of its conducive foreign affair policies. Now, then we have to distinguish between tariff and non-tariff barriers. Tariff means which is a part of cess or duty which increases the cost for the commodity, right? But non-tariff means it's not based on the cost, it's based on the quantitative restrictions, that is quotas. Bilateral and multilateral, bi means two, multi means many. So the trade which is happening between two nations is bilateral, and which happens with more than two nations, that is multilateral trade. Small-scale industries require a shield against large-scale industries. Shield means protection. So in this light, elaborate the steps initiated by the government in this direction. Yes, a moment before also it's discussed that SSI was given reservation for the production of some goods, means the large-scale industries could not produce that good. SSIs were given some tax exemptions and other benefits as well. Now there is a case given where we talk about agro startups and rural enterprises are becoming increasingly vital for rural development in India. They address the critical challenges faced by rural sector in India. These ventures bring in technological innovation such as precision farming, IT-based monitoring system, and data-driven decision-making tools that enhance productivity and resource efficiency by streamlining supply chain and creating direct market linkages. They ensure better pricing for farmers and reduce dependency on traditional intermediaries. Such enterprise contribute actively to employment generation in rural areas. The government has demonstrated a continuous policy and financial support for agriculture startups and entrepreneurs through various programs like so and the Agricultural Infrastructure Fund and AgriSure. Right. So the first question is explain how agro startup address the critical challenges faced by the agricultural sector. So, it's clearly given they address the critical challenges faced by the agricultural sector, right? And these ventures, so this is going to be my first point, such as precision farming, IT monitoring system, and data-driven tools, right? And the second is by streamlining. So first answer is this, and second is this by streamlining supply chain and creating direct market linkages. They ensure better pricing for the farmers and reduce dependency on traditional intermediaries. So these are the two different points carrying 4 marks, right? Then we have comment on the role of government in supporting agro startups and entrepreneurs in India. So we have the government has demonstrated a continuous support for these. So from here to here, we have a clear answer for the B part. I hope this discussion would be useful for you. So we'll see again each other for the discussion of another sample paper. Till then, see ya, study hard. Bye-bye.